Jeffries and Brown to jump it up, and the Final Four is underway with Oklahoma. First possession.
Fife on Price, one of the top defenders in the Big Ten, against the man that makes it go for Oklahoma.
McGee and Jeffries with the block.
Got a nice piece of that shot. Good shot blocking by Jeffries. His hand right up there. McGee may be a little bit quicker, but Jeffries got a big height advantage.
Double team on Jeffries. Hornsby passes up the shot.
Looks like they're going to double down on Jeffries and leave Odell one-on-one by himself.
Odell, and big pressure from McGee forced that shot to misfire.
I like the move by Indiana early, Jim, to go inside, try to get an inside game going so they can hit from the outside. Nice curl move.
Ball on the floor, and Odell has it. Tie up, arrow, Indiana.
Arad down on the floor, one of the real keys for Oklahoma. When he is scoring, this team is almost impossible to handle. Got the ball very easily on that curl move. I'm surprised Oklahoma is not picking up a little bit more full court. They have a big advantage as far as quickness in the backcourt area.
Coverdale comes off a screen, almost launched the three. Now Fife back out to Coverdale, and making some cuts here at the start, Billy. Coverdale bounce pass, gets into the arms of Jeffries, and the foul on Jabari Brown. What do you see from Coverdale the first two trips?
Well, what I see is that he is going to be able to play, Jim. It may not be 100% efficiency. He's got a very unusual looking leg wrap right there, but Indiana, obviously, Tim Garl, one of the great trainers, as a matter of fact, the guy that's been the president of that association, has obviously done a tremendous job. Now, Coverdale's funny in this respect, Jim. A guy who often gets banged up, but a guy that is a very good healer, and because he is tough, he was not going to be denied an opportunity to play today.
Well, it's like Mike Davis said last night, that ankle would have to be broken for him not to play. He did suffer an earlier sprain on that same left ankle earlier in the tournament and fought through it in their second round win against North Carolina Wilmington. White over Coverdale, and that ball tipped up and in by Brown.
Good job by Brown, stayed right up in the air, almost jumped up a little too early. Extending the defense now to the outside, taking away any three-point opportunities. Indiana's not a team that can break you down off the dribble.
An Indiana team that hit its first 8 threes in the regional final against Kent State. An amazing 15 of 19 in that game from behind the arc.
And don't be surprised to see Jeffries outside some. Actually, a ball blocked that time by the backboard. Fight was too far underneath. It looks like they want to play Jeffries outside a little bit, taking Brown out there with him. Jeffries very good at putting the ball down for a big man. Odell overplaying even Brown to the outside.
Hurrah with a three and a swish.
There's a huge shot. That's exactly what I was talking about. The man that really makes the difference as to whether this team is scoring in the 80s or down in the 60s. One of the things Indiana does do a good job, they don't put the ball on the floor very often with the dribble.
Odell, interior pass, Jeffries.
Another foul on Brown.
That's his second.
And this is the one area, and again I said watch how this game is being called. This is the one area that Oklahoma can find themselves in trouble. Brown getting into foul trouble early makes Oklahoma become a small team in a hurry.
2 fouls on Brown in the first 2.5 minutes. And he's replaced by Darian Selvey. Selvey, one of the co-captains for the Sooners out of West Memphis, Arkansas.
Two excellent free throw shooting teams. Of course, Oklahoma the best at 76%, but Indiana right there at 70. Big overplays. Now with Selvey in the game, Odell's going to have a tougher time.
Coverdale fighting off a screen, helped force the steal.
Good hit ahead
to Odell to tie it at 5.
Jim, what we're seeing so far is Indiana's defense has not allowed penetration by Oklahoma. Kind of surprising. And Hollis Price has not touched the ball in an offensive position. Fife doing a good job keeping it away from him.
Selvey in the lane. And it's Indiana ball.
I sense Oklahoma a little tight, a little different than the team we have seen not only knock off Kansas in the Big 12 for the tournament championship, and giving Kansas the first loss they suffered at all by anybody in the Big 12 this year, but also the way they played in the NCAA tournament. We're much more aggressive than we're seeing so far, particularly in the offensive end.
Coverdale almost got to the spot on time, and he forces the push-off call against Quannas White.
Talked about the quick whistle, and we are seeing it.
Indiana's road to the Final Four through 3 double seeds, if you will. A 12, a 13, and a 10, but the stunner over Duke, where they had a commanding rebound advantage over the Blue Devils and fought back from 17 down to knock off the #1 team in the country.
Nice idea by Fife. He realized he was going to be hit, so he put the shot up in the air.
Oklahoma downplayed any extra incentive being left out as a #1 seed. They were the 2 in the West. You called that the toughest bracket
By far.
and they marched through Arizona and Missouri in the regionals.
Selby did a good job cutting off. Odell had a chance to take it all the way to the hoop. Now see the difference now with Selby in the game. Jeffries can post him up inside. He's got about 4 or 5 inches on him. There he is. They're not hitting him with the ball soon enough.
Fife in trouble, back out high. Jeffries can handle it on the drive. Tip back out by Odell, and here comes Price.
First chance for a little break, but Indiana gets back nicely.
And off the fingertips of Price. Billy, you talked about how closely they're going to call it. 4 fouls on Oklahoma at the first break, none on Indiana. That's precisely, Bonnie, what Duke did last year. Watch that video, in fact, cut to their own highlights on the ride to the championship game at the Metrodome in Minneapolis.
Jim, Selby has got to be careful. He's bumping Jeffries every time he tries to go through without the ball. Great overplaying. You can see during this timeout, Kelvin Sampson told his guys to pick up the movement defensively.
8 seconds, Billy, on the shot clock.
And
Coverdale just realized it.
Good step out by Selby.
Got to get it away. Not in time. Not in time.
Good defensive stance that time by Oklahoma. First time in this game we've seen Kelvin Sampson play the way they're taught. I thought he might even pick up full court from now on just to get his guys' legs moving because they have come out very, very tight.
Indiana's starting 5 remains on the floor. Selby, the lone non-starter for the Sooners, with Brown on the bench with 2 fouls. Price, first shot. Too strong, and McGee between 2 Hoosiers.
That's Coverdale.
And 1.
Coverdale on the reach in. McGee just too strong for him. We'll see this right here. McGee, an excellent job. 9 double-doubles in the last 17 games. This man, all Big 12 first-teamer. Too strong, puts it up inside, and Coverdale will have to go with 2 hands if he's going to stop in there.
And he is a superb free throw shooter, McGee, 82%. The first-team all Big 12 player.
Look at Selby right now. I mentioned Jeffries has got about 4 inches on him, but it doesn't do him any advantage playing 20 feet away from the basket. They're going to have to get Jeffries down in the low post and make Selby play him there.
The Cincinnati transfer, who has really developed into a dominant player this year, unable to finish the 3-point play.
And this team, you can tell by that, Jim, they've been so good from the free throw line. That shot went up there extremely hard. Jeffries keeps coming outside. That gives Selby an advantage.
Coverdale went back to Jeffries on the floor. Coverdale throws it out of bounds. Nope, they say it was touched last by Oklahoma.
Good swarming defense by Oklahoma, however.
Oklahoma brings in Jason Dietrich for his first action. Junior from Newport News, Virginia, and a sub for Indiana, Atlanta's very own Jeff Newton.
Jim, not a lot of fall off when Dietrich comes in. He's an explosive scorer and a very versatile defender as well. And here's Oklahoma going into a little zone, but Price doesn't realize it. He's playing man-to-man. Everybody else is zoning.
Newton outside shot. Jeffries very active. And this is going to be another foul here on Oklahoma. It's called on Selvey, their 15th foul.
I would like to point out something in regard to fouling, Jim. I think the way the game's being called is an advantage to Indiana right now. But Oklahoma wins 31 games, loses only 4. But this year their opponent shot 105 more free throws than they did. That is an unbelievable statistic. Foul on the screen. First foul that time on Indiana. Going to be on Newton.
Newton in here, number 50, and another big body for the Hoosiers off the bench. A.J. Moye will no doubt be seeing shortly, another Atlanta product. 2 Atlanta stars on this Indiana team.
Jeffries is being asked to do a lot. McGee on one end of the floor and score on the other.
Tough pass inside. Selvey works hard to get it back. Price, 3-point shot passed up.
Nice recovery by Newton. There's a 3-second call. Boy, a terrific job by Newton defensively to recover on Hollis Price, who was ready to launch a 3. He wants to get started offensively. Again, no full court pickup by Oklahoma. That allows Coverdale to rest a little bit. You know he's not in the best of shape. I think Oklahoma should be picking him up full court, really make him work, bring the ball up the floor. Jeffries now posting up on Selvey, but nobody can get him the ball. Illegal screen again.
Jeffries, yep, Jeffries down low. Stepped in, tried to set that screen, his first. And A.J. Moye, indeed, is in the lineup now for Indiana.
Jim, we'll see. The fact Jeffries comes over, does not set his body at all. Dietrich really took a shot right there. Foolish foul by Jeffries. He cannot afford any of those cheap fouls. He must be on this floor 34 plus minutes probably in this game. Set play.
Coverdale on White. White tips once. Coverdale comes out with the rebound.
Lost the handle. Really doesn't have blazing quickness even with a good ankle. Moye into the game, probably the most athletic of all of the Indiana players.
Newton traveled.
Good, smart defense that time because you know Newton is not going to want to take that shot from the outside. Smart play by Selvey.
Indiana now, Billy, 7 minutes into this game, has made only 1 field goal. That was the breakaway off the steal to Odell. And they've gone over 4 minutes now without a field goal. And Donald Perry has come in to replace Coverdale, number 12, freshman out of Louisiana.
You've got to give Coverdale a rest because of the fact that he hasn't been practicing. Bad shot by McGee, hits it anyway.
Fade away by McGee, and he has 4 for the Sooners.
But Jim, here's the problem. A guy with a bad ankle that has to sit down really has to be careful that it doesn't stiffen up on him when he goes to get back in there.
Donald Perry right here, handling it for the first time, so scrutinized all week.
Doubling from the backside, nice move by Oklahoma.
Moye, Perry passes up the open shot, and it's off Newton.
Lots going to be asked of Perry. He came in on the year, was shooting 3 for 26 from three-point land. In the NCAA's 2 for 3, but when you come in off that bench and are expected to play big minutes, could be tough for the freshman.
Odell in for Newton as the Hoosiers have turned it over their last 4 trips.
So now we have 2 men from Louisiana playing point guard against each other. Boy, McGee is doing a great job holding Jeffries off. There he is again.
Trying to draw a second on Jeffries. Another fadeaway, just like the last one. True again.
I really think that Odell will have to play McGee. Jeffries is asked to do so much as the number 1 position man defensively. It's taken away some of his offense as well.
Tough pass.
Well, White, I think, pulled a hamstring here. He's down. Let's see.
He's a little gimpy already.
Yep.
He sprained his ankle in practice on Thursday. Ball was kicked. It'll be Indiana ball when we come back. The last 6 to Oklahoma. And so far, only 1 of 5 field goals and 5 turnovers by the Hoosiers in the first 8.5 minutes.
Well, Jim, one of the things that Indiana has got to do, they've got to get Jeffries down on the low blocks and figure out a way to get him the ball. The problem is with Odell in the game, and here's Odell wide open. With Odell in the game, Oklahoma is not going to go out and respect him from three.
Odell with both of the Hoosier field goals. That breaks a 5.5-minute drought from the floor.
And that's really the first basket in the half-court set, and it was from an out-of-bounds play.
And McGee, that's going to be the second on Jeffries.
I don't like this matchup from Indiana's standpoint because McGee is just too active to ask Jeffries to play him. They're going to have to switch Odell over to him or get Newton back into the game. McGee is just too quick.
Well, Newton's still sitting at the scorer's table, and he was about to come in. Would he have been coming in for Jeffries and just a little too late? I'm sure he'll be replacing him now.
And now this really puts Indiana in a bad situation in regard to where do the points come from. Between the two of them, Odell and Newton, you have 4 3-point shots they've made between two of them all year long. So the game is going to have to be played from the outside, and Oklahoma knows that. Look at how Selby's picking up the defense. They are now really pressuring the ball. This is Oklahoma basketball.
And they're really swarming the freshman Perry.
This is a great move, I think, by Calvin Sampson. Pressure the ball because Jeffries is no longer in the game.
Moye gets through the traffic. His teammates will tell you he feels like he owns the city, coming back to his hometown for the Final Four, showing them the sights. Dietrich, 3-point shot. Long rebound, Newton.
Little faster pace established here, and Indiana takes the challenge.
Odell was calling for it, wants to move in on McGee, and rolls off the rim. McGee underneath. Dietrich to the hole.
Jim, isn't it amazing how in the last 2 possessions we're seeing almost an entirely different Oklahoma team? And I give Calvin Sampson a lot of credit. Picked up his defense with some trapping, changed the whole complexion of the game.
First 3-point shot of the game, and 5 too strong. Price up ahead. Hurrah, pull up 2.
He has a beautiful shooting touch, and right now Mike Davis might be thinking time because we're seeing an Oklahoma team ready to blow this thing open.
They turned up the heat, they turned up the pressure, and they open up the 17-9 lead. And Coverdale, to settle things down, returns to the lineup out of the Indiana timeout.
Looks like he's moving that leg pretty well, but Jim, with almost half of the half yet to be played, Jeffries on that bench with 2 fouls. Probably can't get him back in this first half.
Newton and
nice.
Selby on the foul.
Zendri on the foul. Newton, who has had a tremendous postseason play.
Especially from the field, Billy. The guy has hardly missed. Second on Selby. And Newton with a chance for the 3-point play. Joseph Zindre is in for Oklahoma, number 42.
Well, Newton got all this started in the Big Ten tournament when he was 5 for 7, 10 points, 7 rebounds against Michigan State, and has had a really good run in postseason play.
McGee in, Selby out. And Hornsby for Fife on the Indiana side. Yeah, he did 16 out of 19 from the field, entering this one, 1 of 2. The start of this game for Newton. Hurrah!
Tough matchup for Hornsby. Hurrah, really a gifted shooter, and as I said, when he scores, everything seems to function so well for Oklahoma.
Newton drives past Zindre, and again he's got a chance to convert a 3-point play.
Newton much quicker than Zendre. Brown going to come back into the game, who got into foul trouble early, but Calvin Sampson sees that Newton too quick.
That foul called on McGee, his first.
You think Newton a little excited coming back to his hometown right here to be able to perform so well?
Looked a little jittery when he first came in, missed a shot, had a couple of turnovers, but he has settled down and hit for 6 straight here.
A huge lift for Indiana, particularly with Jeffries sitting. You think of Newton primarily coming in and being the shot blocker.
Jabari Brown is back on the floor for Oklahoma with the 2 fouls. Quantus White has also returned. That shot right over Hornsby. Hurrah!
He's too quick for Hornsby. That is a very difficult matchup for Indiana. Hurrah senses it.
It cut inside to Odell. Newton with the assist.
Kelvin Sampson says you cannot help out in that situation. Jabari Brown breakdown defensively.
Indiana's half-court offense starting to work effectively.
Kind of surprising, working better with Jeffries on the bench.
And McGee on the blocks.
Well, there he uses that left hand so effectively, whether it be the fall-away jumper, and that time he had excellent position. Newton's got to make him come back to the other side.
McGee has 10 of the 23 for Oklahoma.
Little matchup zone right now by Oklahoma for the first time. Gives Hornsby his first look.
Hornsby with the first 3 of the game for the Hoosiers.
There was a change of defenses by Oklahoma that backfired on them. That's all Hornsby needs is a nice little look.
McGee. And that's the first miss after 5 straight by the Sooners.
Boye going up for the rebound. Who will ever forget that block against Boozer of Duke?
And Odell cuts it to 1.
This is a tremendous comeback with Jeffries on the bench, Jim.
An Indiana stretch that very much resembled the way they played against Duke the second half. They were down 8 a moment ago, and now it's a 1-point game. Oklahoma ahead. Kelvin Sampson wanted to settle things down. Over Boye.
On the elbow.
Was it a 2 or was it a 3?
He was backing up, Jim. I really didn't see if his foot left inside the 3. It is a 2.
2. That's on Moye.
Jim, these 2 teams have met twice in their history in NCAA tournament play. I was at one of the games. It was in Evansville, Indiana. I'll never forget this. Billy Tubbs, that year, remember, had been hit in an auto crash, was not able to be there, and it was one of the toughest moments any coach will have to have. Mike Newell was appointed to be the head coach in that game, and to go out in Evansville, Indiana, with Wayman Tisdale, a freshman, to face a Bob Knight Indiana team, that was a tough assignment. Indiana winning the game.
Both teams over 50% from the floor. We'll be right back.
Good job by Newton coming back, and here is Oklahoma in a 1-2-2 zone. Newton again becoming an offensive factor inside.
Coverdale's first shot is blocked by Selvey.
There'll be no doubling down on Newton inside in this zone defense. So he's going to have a shot, but it's against McGee. Nice move.
Beautiful move, and over the back on Newton.
He'd love to have that one back. A terrific inside move against the zone. And you can see in that zone, Oklahoma is playing the ball very tight outside, giving the easy pass inside.
That's the second on Newton. 2 on Newton, 2 on Jeffries. White goes out for Oklahoma, and Dietrich back in the lineup.
And the MVP of the region, Price, not having a big first half, Jim.
1 point. He'll be washing those hands at halftime.
Right.
He's superstitious.
Well, he's being guarded by Moye right now. One guy that can stick right with him.
Hurrah!
Question that shot.
Yeah, way out there.
And they get out of the zone. They go back to their man-to-man. So Kelvin Sampson has used a straight zone, a matchup zone, and a man-to-man so far in this first half. That's Hornsby's shot.
For the lead. Back of the rim. Tipped up Odell. Moye inside. And it's Oklahoma ball. Near the conclusion of every tournament game, we select a Chevrolet Most Valuable Player from each team. And to date, Chevrolet has contributed almost $8 million to the scholarship funds of America's colleges and universities. Newton goes out with the 2, and George Leach comes in, sophomore from Charlotte, North Carolina.
Leach, a good shot blocker, a lot of size in there, and this is a good move by Mike Davis because all he's trying to do is get a few minutes out of him and try to keep McGee honest. Let's see if Oklahoma goes to McGee early here.
Price drives past Moye, who blocks it from behind. Selvey swatted away by Leach.
That's what he's in the game for, but a terrific job by Moye as well on that. He is an explosive leaper. This is some block.
McGee way outside. Off the shot clock, Indiana ball.
If you're Indiana, you probably want McGee to shoot those fadeaway jumpers because it keeps him off the offensive glass.
Leach looked like his old high school teammate, swatting that one into the front row. Chris Marcus of Western Kentucky. Tournament team this year, knocked out by Stanford round 1. Moye gives them good minutes, and he gives them a tie at 24.
Jim, I look at Moye, not only good minutes, he's just as good as any starter that they have. He's strong enough athletically to play anybody. Leach on another big play. Probably a foul, not called. We talked about the quick whistle. It actually...
Selvey really trying to mix things up. Wraparound pass, and Leach gives him the lead at 26-24.
Can you believe this? Leach and Newton taking up for Jeffries, who's been on the bench for a long time in foul trouble.
Their first lead since 1-0. Dietrich traveled.
He had to respect Leach. I'll tell you, Leach is really fired up as his senior odal.
They have come back from 8 down to take the lead, and you can get live team and player stats for Oklahoma and Indiana in the Game Center at cbs.sportsline.com. America Online, enter the keyword CBS Sportsline.
Jim, I really think with Oklahoma going zone, it's giving Indiana some confidence. Oklahoma's a team that wants to be in your face defensively, and when they give you 3/4 of the court to go ahead and bring the ball up easily, it's not the kind of defense that Indiana worries about at all. You can't turn the ball over if you're not going out and attacking.
Look at the points in the paint for Indiana, and many felt coming in they would be outmanned inside.
Well, the Duke game should have been a lesson, huh?
Well, the way they out-rebounded the Devils. Coverdale tipped around, and Leach making another play. This could be the third on Brown.
It is.
It is.
He gets there too late. Leach doing a good job going up with 2 hands. Jim, when Leach was recruited, people expected him to be totally outstanding. He had some problems with academic, not really difficulty, but a controversy between his transcript and the NCAA, but he was redshirted as a partial qualifier his first year.
So he goes out with 3, and Zindre, who they try to take advantage of in a matchup, returns. A junior from Budapest, Hungary. His parents have flown in from Hungary to watch him play in the States for the first time ever.
Good block out by McGee, kept Moye off the basket. I am really surprised that Price doesn't try to test Coverdale with some dribble penetration.
McGee will test Leach. And Leach on the foul. Tom Coverdale's play, Billy, fighting through screens. This forced an early Indiana basket.
Well, what was very apparent is that that ankle, although it may be sore and it may be heavily taped, he is not showing any ill effects of it the way he's playing out here.
Well, they had phone calls from doctors in Europe. Someone sent them some water that had been blessed by the Pope, supposedly. All kinds of remedies offered up by Hoosier fans around the world to make sure that Coverdale would be back to be able to play at the Final Four.
Hard to believe that a Mr. Basketball of Indiana, however, would ever want to sit this one out.
A 9-3 Indiana run. 26s on the board in Georgia.
Let's check this defense out right now. They go back to man-to-man.
Hornsby down and out and tipped out by Odell. Coming up, singular at the half. Greg and Clark will have first half analysis plus the Chevy Player and Coach of the Year presentation, all coming up on Singular at the half.
Jim, against Kent State, Hornsby was 6 for 8 from 3. Tonight he's had 2 good looks and has not hit them, rushing his shots a little bit.
And a foul before the shot.
Hornsby on the foul.
And Dietrich with a 1-on-1. It's the 8th team foul. Oklahoma, as it hits the free throw, has missed its last 6 shots. No field goals made in the last 4.5 minutes. In fact, the 2 leading scorers, well, the leading scorers for each side, Billy, have not hit from the field. Price and Jeffries.
Well, we're talking about 2 scorers that average between them 32.2 points a game, have been a non-factor in this first half.
Hornsby goes out. Fife comes in. 3rd member of his family to be a part of a Final Four.
There's that matchup defense now by Oklahoma again.
Odell, tough pass and taken away by Zindre.
Zindre did a good job that time overplaying, understand who was in his area.
Dietrich swatted away for a 2nd time by Leach, and a foul call against Indiana. Odell.
Dietrich doing a good job blocking him out here. Here's Leach with his 3rd block since he's come into the game. Doing a terrific job. Zindre's going to have to give him credit. And there you see the push. Dietrich going back to the line. Good solid block inside.
Dietrich 81%. 1-1.
Well, as I said, Jim, very unusual statistic for Oklahoma. Their opponents shoot 105 more fouls than they do, which is very interesting for a team as aggressive as they are and have that low post game with McGee. But they are a brilliant free throw shooting team. In the last 4 years in the Big 12, Kelvin Sampson's team finished either 1-2 from free throw shooting. That's just not recruiting, that's good coaching.
Another good coaching stat for him. They lead the Big 12 this year in field goal percentage defense and 3-point percentage defense.
Big mistake by McGee, and he dodged one there.
That's a block call on Coverdale. That's his 2nd.
We saw McGee go in the air. He goes in the air to worry about Odell, who is 3 for 8 for 3 on the year. And then he does a good job with that explosive speed. Coverdale can't get there in time.
Double bonus. McGee will shoot 2. When they tore down the nets in San Jose, McGee took one of the nets, had it around his neck, and the team bus stopped by the local hospital where Kelvin Sampson's father, Ned, was recovering from a blood clot. And they all went to visit the old coach at Pembroke High back in North Carolina, there at San Jose Hospital. McGee took the net off of his neck and put it on Mr. Sampson's. Mr. Sampson, by the way, is here in Atlanta, arrived on Wednesday. He is resting right now in his hotel room, hoping to be well enough to make it to Monday night if the Sooners get there. Just didn't feel like he could be here today.
There's this matchup zone once again by Oklahoma. Coverdale tried to draw the foul. He wasn't even trying to make that shot. The official let it go.
Oklahoma on a run. Dietrich with a 3. Zindre pushes it out to Moye.
Leach has got an opening.
Leach lost control of it going up, and they're going to say Price got a piece of the hand.
That was probably a pretty good foul by Price. Leach did a good job getting out on this break, and he wanted to dunk rather than have to go to the line. Having quite a first-hand half is Leach. Terrific job blocking, and there was that put away he made on the inside. Jim, you know, one of the things about Leach, although he hasn't had the playing time this year, Miami, a very good aggressive team, was a team that he played against, almost had a triple-double. 10 points, 10 rebounds, 7 blocks.
One more for Leach.
But he's only a 53% foul shooter, so you can see what a smart foul that was by Price.
Coverdale down with 2 fouls. Donald Perry back in. And that cuts that 8-0 run by the Sooners. Got 1 of 2.
Price being very patient up there. Has not tried to push this game at all.
Sooners on a run, but they've made their last 9 points traveling. Their last 9 points have come from the line. They've gone almost 7 minutes without a field goal, yet they've opened up a 5-point lead.
You can see how Ara likes to explode as a scorer. So far this year, he's had 9 20-point games, got off to a pretty good start. He's kind of forcing things here as we go down the stretch of the first half. Perry ought to keep the ball. Got a mismatch on the matchup zone.
Five on the shot clock. Fife back out. Perry, the freshman, must do something. He gets open. Oh, he had an open layup. I think he felt he was going to get some more pressure.
Lack of
Price.
experience, Jim.
McGee tips. Leach had a hand on it. Back out to Price again. And Perry gives the Hoosiers some big numbers here. The trailer has the wrong guy to go to. Up ahead. Hurrah. Pull-up jumper. Second time he's done that in this half.
That was a 4-on-1 break that Indiana didn't convert. The ball should have been passed early. Mike Davis thought there was a foul on a play. Hollis Price with 2 great defensive plays against the break.
Hurrah with 11. Sooners by 7.
This is a 1-on-4 break right here. Leach is the last guy. You want to fake here and go over to the right. This was a bad play by Perry. He goes to the wrong man, and Hollis Price with a tremendous steal. Really had the numbers against him, Jim. A small man, 1-on-4. He makes the play. Ara makes the jump shot. Ara with that perfect form on that jumper.
And it's a 4-point turnaround with that. Shot clock is off to close the half.
Let's check the defense right now. They're still in this semi-matchup. Coach Sampson has really switched the defenses around on Indiana, particularly now with a freshman point guard out there. He's having a hard time recognizing.
7 seconds. They call for play 4. Odell, 3-point shot. Comes it down. Huge shot for the Hoosiers.
Well, McGee never thought he'd take it.
No basket. Had it gone. So Odell delivers a key 3 to close out in the first 20 minutes. McGee, the big story for the Sooners. 14 points and 7 rebounds. Thank you. Jeffries with only 9 minutes of action in the first half. 3 points, all at the line, and then to the bench with 2 fouls.
Jim, Indiana, the hottest shooting team coming in this tournament. There goes down to McGee again. A good job. I'm surprised that Jeffries is still playing him one-on-one.
Look at Coverdale, calls the timeout.
Smart move by Coverdale, but I don't think that Indiana can keep Jeffries on McGee.
Hoosiers timeout. We'll be right back.
And on the other side of that equation, McGee has taken 428. You know that Jeffries playing Brown has got a much better chance to stay in this game. Here he is on the offensive end. He has to be really careful about a charge.
Jeffries hits his first field goal of the game.
And let's see that matchup again. It's Odell on Brown. And if you're Calvin Sampson, you want to see this ball going into McGee as much as possible.
Traveling. Jabari Brown says, wait a minute. First player ever from the Virgin Islands to play in a Final Four. From St. Thomas.
A rather circuitous route to get to Oklahoma for Mr. Brown, Jim. Florida International as a freshman.
Miami for the end of his high school run.
That's
after
right.
Playing for Cyril Benjamin down at Charlotte Amalie. Here's Jeffries, 3-point shot.
Oh!
An omen. And that puts Indiana up by 1.
That is an omen. Indiana is 16-1 when Jeffries makes a 3-point shot. Even one that banks in.
Well, what did Davis want? 20? He's already got 5 quick ones in the first minute.
But here's a problem.
And right over Jeffries. No foul, though.
And still no move by Indiana to get him off McGee, and I guarantee Oklahoma's going to go down there and test him on that. And here we see again the matchup zone by Oklahoma. They showed it in the first half, and they're going with it right now.
Coverdale, open 3. Good look. And it's good for the 2-point lead. So the guys that Davis said had to get on track, Coverdale and Jeffries, have done so.
Oh, nice rebound by Brown.
Took it right out of the arms of Fife.
Great timing.
And Jeffries clears for the Hoosiers.
Good open look. You give Aram any of those, and he's going to make them.
Jeffries on the drive, and McGee on the reach-in.
There's showing the versatility of Jeffries. Steps outside, can put the ball on the floor. Much as we'll see Drew Gooden in the second game. Two of the most versatile big men in college basketball.
Well, he draws the second on McGee, and just as you think there are advantages for Oklahoma in that matchup at the other end, I think Jeffries feels like he can really take McGee outside and try to
and that's a third. That's a third foul. What happened? Fife running right in to try to make the cut. McGee puts him on his back. This is a huge break for Indiana. And Fife, a former high school quarterback, gets clotheslined here. You'll see it right here. Pow! Right in the neck. Fife from a family that's got some Final Four experience. His brother Dugan played it with that Fab Five team. He didn't get into the Final Four, but he was on the squad. And his father coached at Michigan in '76 when they played against none other than Indiana in the Final Four.
So the third on McGee, who stays in there. And that ball kicked out belongs to Oklahoma. Thursday on CBS, the investigators of CSI will look through the eyes of a peeping Tom turned killer. You won't believe what they see. Don't miss TV's most watched show, an all-new CSI crime scene investigation. Thursday on CBS.
Now, we've got foul problems for two of the key players in this game, Jeffries and McGee. Dietrich loses the handle.
And Indiana comes out with it. Coverdale. Coverdale puts it up. And long rebound out to Dietrich.
Indiana has not done a good job when they have the numbers on the break tonight, Jim. That's about the third time they came down with a chance to make an easy play and made it difficult.
Again, McGee on Jeffries.
No doubling down.
And a whistle.
Oh,
and with
there
the
it is.
leg, that's going to be number 3 on Jeffries.
I really do not understand this matchup for Indiana. They can switch Odell over and allow Jeffries to guard a guy that's not going to touch this ball. Mike Davis has got to make the change. And it's not going to be made here on this inbounds pass. For Oklahoma go right back to McGee again.
McGee, a jumper outside, bangs it home for a 2. They clarify, a tying 2 at 38.
And what also this does for Jeffries to be in this kind of foul trouble and see Oklahoma play in the zone, McGee doesn't have as big a challenge. But Jeffries' ability to use that pump fake and drive, he has to worry about a charge on the offensive end.
Odell, baseliner. All Oklahoma underneath for that one. Hollis Price still trying to get his game started.
Well, you know what, Jim? I really loved what Calvin Sampson said. Price is the leader on this team. He has not forced any bad shots.
Selby off the back of the rim. Oklahoma 1 out of 9 from 3, Billy. Bounce pass inside, stripped away, and Ara comes out.
That's Price's second huge steal in this game. Beautiful pass.
And Hornsby forced it at the other end.
That was Dietrich's fault by not cutting through to take Hornsby out of the way.
Quick passing sets up open 3. Fight for 3.
Coverdale did the smart thing there. As soon as he caught the ball, he was ready to make the pass.
His first points of the game. McGee fade away. Boy, he has that shot down.
He really does. And of course, Jeffries really handicapped here, having to guard him.
20 points for McGee and all of the Sooner points in the second half. Half their total for the game. Jeffries outside.
If you're Calvin Sampson, that's where you'd like Jeffries to be taking some shots.
Price, that shot way off the mark.
Got to feel that it was hit on the arm a little bit.
Fife said no. I saw him shaking his head, but his last touched by Dietrich. Indiana's hit 3 out of 3 from behind the arc in this half to take the lead by 1. Won the title.
Well, that West region, Jim, had 10 of the 16 teams were conference tournament champions, so Oklahoma certainly was well versed out there. And here they go back again. Let's check the defensive assignments right now. Newton into the game. They're playing that zone defense. Matching up is Oklahoma.
And Moye returns also, Billy.
I think that's a good move right there. Moye and Newton, the most athletic players that Indiana can put on the floor.
Newton short on the jumper, loose ball, Newton battling. And it's McGee looking for help. He is able to squeeze it over.
Brown wants the lob.
And Brown lays it in for the lead.
Brown runs the floor very, very well for a man his size. 6'10", he can get out there and go. Now watch this defense right now that Oklahoma is using. It helps McGee. It's a 1-2-2, but it's a matchup zone. McGee will not have to go out on Newton that far away from the basket, so basically you've got two guys in the paint defensively.
Fife jumper off the mark. Ara on the run, gets the roll.
He has such a great release on his shot.
Ebi Ara, the Big 12 newcomer of the year with 13.
Scored 52 points in the National Junior College Tournament. Should say enough as to whether a guy can score. That's a great place where we've seen talent for many years. Great block by Dietrich.
They say it's off Indiana. Dietrich knocked it out of Jeffrey's hands, and it was off Jeffrey's knee.
Terrific shot block technique to get the ball on the way up. Now watch Dietrich right here. Goes down, gets all ball, and then for the second time in this half, the ball goes off Jeffrey's foot.
Darian Selvey. McGee with a chance to get a breather. Steals some minutes too with the 3 fouls.
Hollis Price says Selvey's the best 6th man in college basketball. He hadn't had much of a game so far tonight.
White, that's a 2-pointer.
Solid defense by Coverdale right in White's face.
Hey, we've got some good 6 men right here at the Final Four. Langford for Kansas, Nicholas for Maryland. These subs also from Indiana, Moye, Newton. Hoosiers had it up to a 3-point lead. They've given up the last 6. Moye, there he is. He ties it at 44.
And in this defense, unlike the man-to-man that Oklahoma plays, Indiana's getting a lot of good looks, Jim, from the perimeter game.
And they're shooting outstanding threes again, 6 of 11 in this one.
Just as I was surprised at that matchup that Indiana had with Jeffries playing against McGee.
Selvey missing, and Jeffries chases it down.
Nice
Nifty move to shake free from Ara. He has Fife on a wing. He'll go inside the Newton, and it's a foul on Dietrich.
Boy, give Jeffries some credit here. He makes the steal, and then that excellent dribbling move.
Yes.
Jim, you don't see many 6'10" players that can put the ball on the floor with that unusual dribble as Jeffries did there. He's got Selvey on him. Indiana can go inside over the top to Jeffries. There he is.
Him in, and Dietrich was able to reach around and get a fingertip to knock it away. Force the steal.
You don't want to throw the ball. Oh, how about that? Oh!
And blocked out of there. Hoosiers with the numbers.
Jeffries is running.
Here comes the lob. Jeffries never had a full control of it. Price. And swatted away by Newton.
Coverdale has numbers if he can find them.
He finds it. It's Moye. He'll challenge Ara, and the foul on Oklahoma's Ara.
Some sequence right here, up and down the court. Newton doing a terrific job on one end. He has all ball, pulls it down from Dietrich.
That's the second foul on Ara, 44-44. Oklahoma's missed its last 6, and 3 of those have been blocked.
Some major coaching decisions to be made in this game, and primarily, Jim, on the defensive end. How do you protect Jeffries? When do you put McGee back in the game? In Oklahoma, are you going to stay in more zone than man-to-man?
Newton down low, size advantage, and he makes it over Selvey.
Oklahoma playing an awful lot of zone against a team that really matches up against them in a zone defense better than they do man-to-man.
Blake Johnston is in the game for the first time for the Sooners, number 12. He can fire it from the outside. And here comes McGee, Billy. You were wondering how long he would sit. Seconds later, he returns.
As I said before, they can protect McGee in those zone defenses, but when they play the zone, Indiana, as we can see, has had a much better time getting open shot looks.
He was out for about 6 minutes. Jeffries almost landed on him, and he muscles his way to a tying 46.
Terrific job by McGee on the inside.
He has 22 for the Sooners.
That's his 13th 20-point game on the year.
Donald Perry back on the floor. Coverdale looked very tired before that last timeout.
Brown on Newton, who has just eaten him alive.
Beautiful move, Jeffrey Newton.
And Brown can't worry about picking up another foul. He's got to be aggressive in there. Newton's having a terrific postseason, Jim.
And starring here at home in his hometown of Atlanta.
Nice move by Mike Davis to take Jeffries off McGee.
Brown tips it in. Jabari Brown.
And again, Newton is not blocked. Newton doing a good job blocking out McGee, but Jeffries did not on Brown. Perry had his hands full as a freshman in that first half. Oklahoma not taking advantage of his shaky ball handling here in the second.
Newton, he has McGee behind him this time. Kick out, freshman Perry, 3. Yes! He's 3 out of 4 in the tournament from 3 after 3 out of 26.
And Jim, how about
the season?
Newton? How about Newton?
To spot him?
He really did. He spotted him on the opposite side. Perry had the presence of mind to stay over there and hold his ground. Much better when he doesn't have to handle the ball.
His shooting for Indiana from 3 is taking on Kent State proportions in the second half. They've hit all 6 in this half. Johnston drives easily for the basket.
Jeffries didn't want to take a chance at going to help out.
6 for 6 in the half from 3 after hitting their first 8 in that regional final against the Golden Flashes.
Well, it was only 15 out of 19 in that game, Jim. So it was kind of interesting to hear Hollis Grice say, we can't make 15 out of 19 in practice with nobody guarding us.
That's right, warm-ups. Well, they've got the change now. Jeffries on Brown and Newton on McGee.
Good adjustment. Even if Brown picks up a cheap one, you just don't want to have to guard McGee with Jeffries. Nice fake.
Well, Jeffries read it, though.
Another time, Jeffries with his dribble.
Over to Moye, and Indiana leads by 3 at the 8:40 mark.
2 brilliant plays by Jeffries on the steal and then the dribble to actually lead the break as a 6'10" man.
White. And a push-off called against Indiana before the shot.
There haven't been many college players that can do this at this size. Terrific dribbling, gets his composure, realizes he has Moye on the wing, makes the excellent pass in the perfect spot. Moye, as we talked about, extremely powerful, athletic enough to go up against Price and score.
Moye commits the foul at the other end.
He's hurt a little bit here, Jim.
Yeah, and not making it all the way to the bench quite yet.
It looks like he's holding his calf.
Second foul on Moye, but out for the moment, needing some attention from the trainers.
If you're Hollis Price, you have got to figure out how to start looking for some more shots.
McGee, that would have tied it. Tipped out to 5. 3-point lead and the ball.
Jim, Price, too much of an offensive threat to be this quiet for this long. Another foul on McGee.
That's his 4th. Monday on CBS, catch an all-new late show with David Letterman. That's Monday on the Emmy Award-winning Late Show with Dave.
Calvin Sampson beside himself. He has to put McGee down on the bench. The zone defense didn't even save him.
Zindre comes in for McGee. McGee with 4.
Again, they stay in the matchup. Fife looking to get himself open, or Hornsby away from the zone. They've had some good looks against this matchup.
Coverdale needs help. Reset it, 15 on the shot clock. Fife, Zindre out there. Hornsby stuck for a moment. Newton takes it.
Are you kidding me?
Hits the 2-point shot. Had a foot on the line. They don't expect Newton to contribute from that far
I
out.
wouldn't think so. He was 1 for 2 from 3 on the year.
The Indiana bench, that includes Newton, has outscored the Sooner bench 27-8. The Cinderella Hoosiers have the 5-point lead with 7:20 remaining.
And it's the Mike Davis era in Assembly Hall. Man-to-man the entire game by Indiana. And here's the guy I think has to get moving for Oklahoma, Hollis Price.
Still has not hit from the field the whole game. Selby's shot swatted away by Newton. Selby steps.
And Jim, I don't want to downplay at all the fact that Price is being guarded by the co-Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year in Fife.
We'll be right back.
His right hamstring, the back of that leg for the last few minutes. I'm told he may come back into this game. Back to you.
Thank you, Armin. And you would think they would need him down the stretch. Odell's back in the lineup for Indiana. And here he is inside. He got pinned underneath Zindre. And a foul's called on Odell.
That was a rather easy basket, but set up again by Newton on a terrific pass. He is putting the ball on the floor, hitting from outside, blocking shots. I don't know if I've ever seen, Jim, a guy come off the bench and have this kind of production that was totally unexpected. I mean, he's had a good postseason, but he is playing an outstanding game tonight.
And Jeffries returns. He's had a good rest, 3 fouls. And Odell heads out with 2 fouls.
If you're Kelvin Sampson, 2 things you got to get done. You got to get Hollis Price in a position to start scoring, and you've got to wait for about 1 more minute and then bring McGee back into the game.
Can you imagine? Price is 0 for 6 from the field, and Oklahoma facing its biggest second-half deficit of the tournament. Right on cue, he fires it down and out. And Coverdale with the quick hands comes out with it.
Indiana getting all the loose balls, Jim.
Indiana with its biggest lead of the game. Coverdale finds Newton for the 7-point lead.
Coverdale really limping right now. But he's going to, and here comes McGee and Brown in the game. It's time for Kelvin Sampson to say, I can't worry about fouls whatsoever.
A 9-2 run for the Hoosiers. Under 6 to play.
What Fife has been able to do is to keep Price right in front of him this entire game.
Price wanted it. Now he'll take it. 3-point shot at last.
Good job by Price getting himself loose in traffic. He's got to become much more aggressive.
And that team now only 2 of 13 from 3 for the game.
I'm expecting Oklahoma, Jim, to pick up their defensive pressure a little bit farther out.
Can you believe the
How about
3-point
this?
performance at the other end?
Hornsby with one. Good screening.
And Indiana in the second half from 3 is the big story here.
That wasn't even that good a look for Hornsby and still made it.
Price fouled by Fife.
Boy, Fife is tired. Look at out there how hard he's been working against a real good offensive performer.
They've hit their 6 attempts in this half. This is the CBS Sportsline stat of the game. You can get complete tournament coverage at cbs.sportsline.com or America Online. Enter the keyword CBS Sportsline. It's actually for Indiana 7 straight when you take in Odell's shot at the closing seconds of the first half. 7 straight threes. McGee and Brown get back into the lineup. Fife for the second time.
Well, he
takes one on the chin.
Remember the last one, though, was a foul on the Oklahoma man, McGee. That one he had already fouled Price, who goes to the line as a 85% free throw shooter.
Every team has a heartbeat, says Kelvin Sampson, and Hollis is ours.
I think that Oklahoma is going to start picking up a little bit stronger. This is what I thought they'd do in the first half. Pick up full court. Make Coverdale really have to work.
Under 5 to play. 5-point lead for Indiana.
Defense is really extended. That ought to give Jeffries a chance if they pull him out to be able to get something down in low.
Newton full of confidence. Over McGee. Not this. Hold on.
Foul.
That's going to be it for McGee. They say he got him on the elbow.
He better be careful. He doesn't want to be too demonstrative here. But a great job by Newton, who is having the game of his life. He goes up on the elbow. You can see it was actually elbow to elbow created the foul, not the hands. McGee will have to sit. He had 4 fouls. Remember the foul trouble against Missouri, but was able to dodge that. He had 5 fouls and fouled out in the win in the Big 12 championship against Kansas. His team was able to pull it out 64-55. But believe me, Oklahoma would love to have him on the floor for the remaining 4 minutes and 40 seconds of this game.
He has been their offense today, and he's a senior, and he must hope that his teammates can rally here to extend his career.
I look for 2 things right now, Jim. Because McGee is on the floor, and you can see Price talking to Ara down there and White, the perimeter game is going to have to come alive for Oklahoma to get back in this.
Long rebound to Hornsby. Newton misses them both, and Indiana gets the bounce.
Coverdale never should have taken it down in the deep corner.
He got stuck and threw it out of bounds.
Yep, he got caught down there with no passing angle, had plenty of time on the clock because they had a new 35.
So Aaron McGee, all Big 12 performer who has starred in this tournament, gave him 22 points, 9 rebounds a game in the tournament, and hit that number today, right on at 22. He's out. And Brown on the way up, Hornsby.
Good foul, though, by Hornsby. Brown had an easy dunk. And, Jim, one of the real subtle moves, and we talked about this as this game was moving on, when Indiana switched Jeffries over so that he didn't have that responsibility on McGee anymore, Jeffries stays on the floor with 3 fouls. McGee, over-aggressive defensively, even in the zone, goes out with 5.
Jabari Brown, only 50% free throw shooter with 2.
And you can see why. Not a good release on that shot. Poor rotation. And now Oklahoma, if they're going to do it, is going to have to do it with full court pressure defense. Moyer probably not able to come back. Doesn't look that way down the other end.
He's come back to the bench, though. They had taken him to the locker room for a moment.
Here comes the full court pressure. Nobody helping out White.
That was never seen by the officials. Fife did a great job. Coverdale throws it away.
White really upset with his former high school teammate Price. Nobody talking whatsoever on that screen, and White gets killed right here.
How is that not a call?
On what?
On White.
Well, you can have contact. Did you gain an advantage?
Inside. Ara bangs it home, and it's down to 2 at the 4-minute mark.
And again, picking up full court, making things very difficult for Indiana. If Oklahoma looks back on this game, they've got to feel that they should have done more of this early in the first half.
White on the push-off.
By dropping back, Jim, inside the top of the key with those matchup zones, they did not put that typical Oklahoma pressure on Indiana. It gave Indiana confidence to look for the threes.
It'll be a 1-and-1 for Tom Coverdale. The story all week leading into this. Even his teammate Dane Fife tried to help him out, gave him a book about Bear Bryant, how to play through pain, and he has played most of the way, but that's a big miss on the front end. And Indiana's only 6 out of 12 in this game from the line.
Kind of amazing, shooting better when they have somebody guarding them.
Yeah. Shooting better from 3 than free.
Right.
2 to tie, 3 for the lead. White got stuck. Selvey puts it up and in.
Almost like a rebound to himself. Smart play by Selvey.
Timeout, Indiana. A 7-point lead has been recovered by Oklahoma. Timeout, Hoosiers.
Well, they have 1 timeout, but you can see Oklahoma picking up much farther out now. That means that there should be some space for Jeffries to get the ball. They have to figure out a way to get him the ball in the low post. He and Newton been a good high-low post combination. Here he is.
Coverdale and Price very active on him. And they're going to call a foul on Coverdale for pushing off.
Selvey and Price so quick. Coverdale having some problems on that ankle now, Jim. Very obvious.
He's turned it over a couple of trips.
Yep.
Thrown it away, and here commits the foul.
Coverdale's going to have to sit down. It seems like that ankle tightening up on him, but good defensive pressure by Oklahoma.
And here's a great example of where they miss Moye. Donald Perry comes back in. Mark Coverdale, father watching from Noblesville, Indiana.
Jim, that front end of the one-on-one that he missed before was a very critical free throw, particularly with this great free throw shooting team that Oklahoma has.
Selvey on the 1-and-1. Unable
Both
to
teams.
convert. Yep. Last 7 points to the Sooners to tie it at 60.
Oh, good lob.
Bob gets it to Newton, and he's able to hit it inside.
Now that's what is going to be available if they're going to put that pressure on the perimeter. Indiana has done a fine job today recognizing what the defense is giving him and taking advantage of it. Price trying to play without the ball.
Honest White goes back out. Doral lost it for a moment. 12 on the shot clock. Spinning on Hornsby. On the run. Hoosiers box out, and it's Perry underneath.
You're exactly right, Jim. Great box out situation.
Perry gets right past two Sooners collided.
What happened? Newton actually created a screen on 2 Oklahoma players. Good recognition by Perry.
Under 2 minutes to play. The last 4 to Indiana. White stuck baseline. Price open 3. Oh, that spins out.
Mr. Newton, it was his law in this game. He is really playing well.
You don't defy the Newton law, especially in his hometown.
He has come back. There is that double screen.
Look at that.
Look at Jeffries. He actually was getting fouled, but he sets a double screen, and Perry recognized it and went right in for the layup.
Newton back to the line now. He missed his last 2 attempts. This will be a 1-and-1.
And a solid free throw shooter, though. 74%.
Solid on that one. 17 points. He has tied his career high, and you talk to the team this week, they would all tell you that he ended up with the ball in his hands at the end of that Duke game, and that symbolically meant a lot to Newton, and you can see his confidence soaring. He's got 12 in the second half. Hoosiers lead by 6. Not only Price, but White off today as well. They're 1 of 14 combined from the field. 9 attempts for Price, 1 make, 0 for 5 for his former high school running mate, St. Augustine down in New Orleans.
Despite that, I think that Hollis Price has got to want the ball now in this situation. Here he is.
Driving on 5 to floater, back of the rim. And it's Jeffries coming out with it. Indiana in no hurry. Hornsby looking for help. And a bump foul on Oklahoma. That's called on Selvey.
Pretty good job by Hornsby just to go ahead and tuck in that time to draw the foul. Price did what we expected, Jim. He took the ball, but it just wouldn't fall for him. Having one of those nights you want to forget.
Dietrich back into the lineup for Kelvin Sampson. And White's out. 1-and-1. That's the 9th team foul. It'll be double bonus rest of the way for the Hoosiers. Hornsby.
Not shooting on the year great free throws, which is surprising because he is a pure shooter from 3.
Kid who grew up in a
Stroke
small
that
town in Louisiana of 1,000 people. Anacoca. Who watched the movie Hoosiers before every game his senior year in high school. 43 times he watched it. No doubt he was going to play for the Hoosiers one day. Selvey with the putback. 1:11 left. And the Indiana margin is 5. Timeout Sooners. Final beat him. And now he's 1:10 away from going to the championship game.
Ooh, great jump that time. Nice timing.
And
Jim, you know what was
set.
really unique about the naming of Mike as the head coach? The victory over Duke was exactly 1 year, the anniversary of the day he was named coach. So pretty good way to celebrate first-year anniversary.
2 shots for Donald Perry. You talk about anniversary dates. One thing that might have been in the cards for Indiana. Here we are on March 30th. On this day in 1940, Indiana won its first national championship. In 1987, Indiana beat Syracuse on the Keith Smart shot for the national championship. And let me not overlook, in 1981, Isaiah led them on this very day as well to a championship over North Carolina. 3 championships on this day alone in Indiana history.
Price down.
Wild scramble. Newton had it for a moment.
Arrow goes the other way, and there's not a foul here. Oklahoma gets a timeout. Really didn't have good possession of the ball.
Wow.
Kind of surprising there.
Didn't see that. 54 seconds left here at the Georgia Dome. 37-32. And a 25-point advantage over the Sooner bench.
Round 7, you've got to go ahead and score as soon
Stolen
as
away
possible.
by Hornsby.
Again, Hollis Price not looking. There's a foul by Price, not looking to create his own score. I realize he's not having a good offensive game, but he's got to put it on the floor and go to that basket.
And now you start to wonder, as they are going wild at Assembly Hall back in Bloomington, what will Moye be able to deliver if Indiana finishes this thing off? What will Moye be like on Monday? And Coverdale coming off of this with the ankle.
Well, it's going to be hard to tell until we talk to the trainers in this regard, Jim, for Coverdale and Moye, because those kind of injuries, the kind of thing that can tighten up, and in one day you're just not ready to go. But on the other hand, Coverdale showed how he could come back from what was a very bad situation in that twisting of the ankle a week ago. But both of them are not going to see action the rest of this way. Short,
Perry
and it goes.
gets the roll. 9-point lead for Indiana.
Thinking 3.
Hurrah, misfire Newton. He has got to be our Chevy MVP.
And then some. An incredible performance for the young man that comes back to Atlanta. And we talked about great sixth men, Jim. He was beyond a sixth man tonight. Mike there with that scowl on his face. Boy, I'll never forget that reaction when Jason Williams hit the 3.
And he turned around.
And he went to the bench.
To his knees.
Kelvin Sampson. Team had a remarkable season, considering the fact that he had to put together a group of junior college transfers to bring them to a Final Four in such a short period of time is quite an accomplishment, but they did not play with that kind of aggressive defense we expected in this game tonight.
And Billy, you thought they were jittery early.
I really did. I thought they were very tight offensively, and I didn't think aggressively on defense. They really went after Indiana. And then Calvin went to that zone a great deal, and Indiana took advantage of it. I think
this is all emotion.
Yep, this is so much emotion. And you know, here's another thing. There's the smile. Bob Knight in his second year took Indiana to the Final Four, just exactly the same. There's his boy who is everywhere.
His son Antoine. Antoine is 3 years old. He sat with me yesterday.
He owns the court.
He sat with me yesterday at practice, and we had a television monitor there, and I said, "What's your favorite TV show, Antoine?" And he said, "Mike Davis."
Well, I was mentioning it. Bob Knight brought his second team at Indiana to a Final Four, was beaten by UCLA. So he did not get to the final game. So Mike Davis, who had a better record in his first year than Knight did in his first year at Indiana, now tops him in this regard as well.
Well, I'll say this. Bob Knight had a large hand in a lot of these kids coming to Indiana, and they, according to Indiana officials, have not heard from him on this run to the Final Four. Not a congratulatory call or anything, and I find that very regrettable. Here's Brown inside for the lay-in.
Too little, too late.
And a steal back. Dietrich unable to give him one last breath. And Perry ends up with the ball in his hands. A team with a lot of heart is set for Monday night. The Hoosier hysteria will carry over to the championship game in Atlanta.